The death toll inside Gaza has climbed considerably since we were with you last night, as Hamas and Israel show no signs of ending the bloodshed. Israel today issuing a warning that sent thousands inside Gaza, including many Americans, fleeing for their lives. This as Hamas fighters launch more rocket attacks against Israel. Most were either intercepted or fell harmlessly short of their targets. But Israeli counterattacks are taking a heavy toll inside Gaza, where the death toll has now climbed to at least 172. More than 1,100 people have been wounded. And tonight, for the first time, Israel is pointedly telling some Palestinians to leave their homes, warning Israel will, quote, strike with might. We have full coverage from the Mideast to Washington. We begin with NBC's Ayman Mohideen inside Gaza tonight with the very latest. Ayman?
Good evening, Lester. 6 days into this conflict, all indications suggest the fighting is intensifying. Overnight, Israeli special forces carried out a daring raid, saying they destroyed long-range Palestinian rockets deep inside the territory. It also began calling and dropping leaflets on thousands of Palestinians, telling them, leave your homes or risk facing danger. And more importantly, the U.S. Embassy today evacuated about 150 Americans that were trapped in Gaza. From the skies above and the sea, Israel is stepping up its campaign to destroy rocket sites in Gaza, warning residents by phone and leaflets, leave your homes or risk being injured. In the middle of the night, thousands of Palestinian families began leaving with what little they have. Some of the children barely had time to put on their shoes before escaping. Thousands, the UN says, have already taken refuge at schools now used as makeshift shelters. While some families fled the fighting, others mourned those killed in it. Overcome by grief, Emel, who lost 3 of her children, fainted. Today, mourners prayed for the dead. 13 of them were from one family. Relatives of Gaza's police chief, who Israel targeted in the single deadliest airstrike since the war began. The police chief survived, but at least 18 others were killed, including Ahmed's parents and 4 siblings, a Palestinian child now orphaned by yet another war. For some, the violence has become unbearable. Today, the U.S. evacuated its citizens with the help of the UN. Making the journey was Palestinian-American Akram Mushtaha and his family from Houston, Texas. They were here visiting relatives, but now too afraid to stay. Do you feel bad about leaving Gaza right now?
Very. I'm leaving, just my body is leaving. My heart is staying back home. My heart is staying in Gaza.
An escape to safety for one American family that very few Palestinians in Gaza will have. Lester, the UN says it is trying to prepare as many schools as possible. Some of those schools have already been damaged in the fighting. And meanwhile, Palestinian health officials are expressing grave concern about the health infrastructure here. They say they simply can't cope with a spike of casualties in the event that there is a ground invasion. Lester? All right, Ayman Mohideen, thank you. Let's get the latest now from inside Israel. NBC's longtime Mideast correspondent Martin Fletcher joins us now from Tel Aviv. Martin?
Hi, Lester. Good evening. Well, Israel's saved again today by the Iron Dome. Hamas fired more than 100 rockets at Israel today. All either were no danger or they were shot down by the anti-rocket system. Only one teenager, he was hit by falling metal debris. He's seriously injured. Now, Hamas has fired altogether more than 900 rockets in the last week, and he's the first Israeli to be seriously hurt from the rockets. Now, the army still poised on the edge of Gaza, waiting for the order to invade. A senior army officer told the press today that Israel will, quote, strike with might from this evening. Now, it isn't clear if that means more attacks from the air and sea, or whether troops would go in on the ground, but clearly northern Gaza is the target. And as Ayman mentioned earlier, a small unit did already go into Gaza, a small unit of Israeli soldiers. As far as we know, they're the first to go in. A commando unit from the Navy entered Gaza to destroy a rocket launching facility that the army says could not be hit from the air. 4 of those Israeli soldiers were lightly wounded, but they're all home now, and the army says they accomplished their mission. Prime Minister Netanyahu, he said today that Israel would not bow to pressure to call a ceasefire, not until Israel has achieved its goal of stopping all rocket fire from Gaza. He said the attack could go on for a long time. But you know, Lester, the more Palestinian dead there are, the more forced from their homes, the more international pressure is building on Israel to stop their assault.